Called the castle capital of the world, Wales had 600 castles. Now it's only got about 100 left standing, most of them in ruins. Just some of the few that I've visited. Perched on a great limestone crag nearly 300 feet above the River Canaan, the dramatic silhouette of Carrick-Caney Castle dominates the skyline for miles around and commands stunning views over the Carmarthenshire countryside. Construction of Aberystwyth Castle began in 1277 after Edward I's defeat of Llywelyn ap Griffith. Today's just remains of the inner and middle walls of a once great castle. The current state of the castle is due to the order for it to be blown up in 1649. Cardiff Castle in the heart of Wales' capital city was once a Roman fort, a Norman stronghold, and nowadays a Victorian Gothic fantasy palace. In the 19th century, art architect William Burgess created a medieval dream for the third Marquess of Bute. The results are simply breathtaking, with opulent interiors, rich with gilding, elaborate wood carvings, murals and stained glass. Beautifully preserved, Chepstow Castle stretches out along a limestone cliff above the River Wye. Building was started in 1067 by Earl William Fitzosborne, who was a close friend of William the Conqueror, making it one of the first Norman strongholds in Wales. Until the 1960s, these doors hung at the main gateway into the castle, but recent tree ring dating has placed these doors to about 1190, making them the earliest known surviving castle doors in Europe. Castle Coch, or the Red Castle, rises up from the ancient beech woods near Cardiff. It's like a vision from a fairy tale. Castle Coch is a 19th century Gothic revival castle. The first castle on the site was built by the Normans after 1081. Yet these great towers with the unmistakable conical roof only hint at the splendour within. It's no exotic folly. Underneath the mock medieval trappings, you can still see the impressive remains of a 13th century castle. Crichton Castle was originally founded in the 12th century. It's now greatly in ruins, but it retains several distinct Norman features. Major rebuilding took place in the 14th and again in the 15th century after Owain Glyndŵr laid siege to the castle during his uprising against English rule. Drizellin Castle. It is founded in the 13th century on an isolated hill. Not much is known about its early history, but in 1287 it was the scene of a significant conflict between the Welsh and English forces. This is Gower Peninsula's finest castle, standing on a hill with a magnificent view over Swansea Bay. The earliest stone building of the castle, which is the keep, dates from around the 12th century. Raglan is a late medieval castle, located just north of the village of Raglan in the county of Monmouthshire, in southeast Wales. The modern castle dates from about between the 15th and the early 17th centuries. Pembroke Castle is most famous for being the birthplace of Henry VII, the founder of the Tudor dynasty and Britain's only Welsh king. He was born in Pembroke Castle on the 28th of January 1457. Llanstefan Castle, overlooking the mouth of the River Towy. It was built in the early 12th century. It regularly changed hands between the Anglo-Normans and the Welsh. which prompted regular upgrades to the structure. This is the massive twin-towered gatehouse, built in around 1280. Manorvere Castle consists of a well-preserved 12th century gatehouse, a keep, two 13th century towers, and a vaulted chapel. The castle was featured in the television adaptation of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe from the Chronicles of Narnia. Built in the second half of the 13th century, Caerphilly is the second largest castle in the United Kingdom. The southeast tower is perhaps the most curious element of the castle because it leans at an angle of 10 degrees, steeper than the Tower of Pisa. Some historians believed it was destroyed by gunpowder by Oliver Cromwell's troops at the end of the English Civil War in the mid-17th century. This castle, not far from my home, is notable for the high quality of the stonework, especially that of the Norman doorway. This is late 12th century and was likely constructed at the same time as the high curtain walls and the two square towers which they support. The early 13th century Ogmore Castle overlooks a picturesque river crossing. Ogmore is one of three built to guard Glamorgan against attacks from the Welsh-held west. Beginning as a castle of earth and wood in the early 12th century, it was quickly fortified in stone before being further strengthened with a curtain wall in the early 13th century. Across the river nearby are these ancient stepping stones. Local legend has it they were laid for a lovesick girl who lived in the castle. Her lover lived across the river, and their meetings were impeded by tides and floods. But apparently the stones served their purposes. The lovers married in 1233. Knowing my luck, I would have fallen in. Bye.